Diminished licks in blues progressions are seriously one of the coolest things you can whip out when you are taking a blues solo, because believe it or not, some people think the diminished sound is only for metal, which it's not. So since that mindset exists, not a lot of blues players or guitar players in general tend to gravitate towards a diminished sound in a blues context. So whether you have a major or minor blues, this theory will apply, but we're going to use a minor blues. A minor to D minor to E7. So we have... So here is the A diminished 7 scale. Now this is the only shape we're going to concentrate on for the purposes of this lesson. So I'm really going to consolidate this to not make it overwhelmingly music theory oriented. If you're not really into that, I'm just going to show you a quick way to apply this kind of sound over a blues progression. And that shape that I just showed you can be moved up by 3 half steps, up or down, and it's always going to work. So if we're starting on that 8th fret, we can move to the 11th, 14th fret, 17th fret, 20th, 23rd, and then, like I said, we can go down as well. So from the 8th down to the 5th. So all of those notes are fair game when executing any type of diminished lick in the context of a blues progression, or any progression really. If you're in the diminished sound, then you have these minor third differences. If you notice, all these notes are a minor third apart. So if we were to take this A scale and start it on A and play it on 1 string, we're just moving up by 3 frets at a time. Now the question becomes, when do you throw this sound in? Because if you have a blues progression going on, it doesn't necessarily sound good over those 2 chords. Of course, everything's subjective, but technically it's not correct to put the diminished sound over those type of chords. The best place to put the diminished sound in a blues context is over the turnaround chord, which is typically the 5 chord. And the reason for that is because the 5 chord is a dominant 7 chord which contains a leading tone. That brings us back to that root, and that leading tone is like really tense. So we have this thing that's pulling us towards that A. And so as a result, it is setting up a lot of non-resolved sounds, which is a perfect place to put that diminished sound in. So let me summarize that. A blues progression contains a 1 chord, a 4 chord, and a 5 chord. Over the 5 chord, that is where you want to throw in these diminished licks. And if we're in the context of an A blues, you're going to use an A diminished sound. So starting from the root A and using those notes in the diminished scale to construct diminished licks. Now, I gave you a lick in this lesson, but I always encourage everybody to create their own music, not necessarily go note for note and try and learn stuff by tab. I think it's cool to learn by ear and then construct your own music based on the knowledge you gain. So I gave you the recipe for the diminished scale, so create your own diminished licks if you want to. And like I said, this is a pretty staple diminished lick. So that can be used in metal, can be used in blues. It just matters where you insert it in the harmony that makes all the difference. So I am going to demonstrate how I like to use this diminished sound using these real basic diminished licks, but you can be sure there are many other applications for the diminished sound. This is just how I like to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this sheds some light on maybe an area that was maybe a little dark for you in the blues context. It's a great way to spice up your blues playing and make somebody turn their head and be like, sick. All right, guys, keep shredding. I'll see you next time.